I stood in the cold for nearly an hour, in the middle of the airport, watching them raise their glasses in the complete family photo. The thing is, I wasn't in it. If you've ever been cast aside by your own family, if you've ever felt like you were invited just to fill a seat rather than being truly wanted, stay and listen to this story. And if anything in it resonates with you, don't hesitate to leave a comment. I think we're not as alone as we believe. Nolan called me on a Saturday afternoon, just a week before Thanksgiving. I remember because I was thawing a small chicken in the sink, getting ready for my simple dinner. The phone rang, and his name flashed on the screen. I stared at it for a few seconds before answering because Nolan rarely called without a specific reason. "Do you have any plans for Thanksgiving, Mom?" His voice was sweeter than usual. It was strange. Nolan was never good at hiding his intentions. I told him I was planning to stay home, roast some potatoes, turn on the radio, and watch an old black and white movie. "Just by yourself?" he asked. I laughed. "Well, who else do I have?" Nolan was quiet for a few seconds. Then he said, "The kids and I want you to fly out. We're planning a big dinner, everyone's going to be here. It just wouldn't be complete without you." He emphasized the words, "wouldn't be complete," as if he'd practiced them in a mirror. I stood there, letting that phrase sink into my chest. 4 years, I had always been the one to call first. Always the one to ask, "Are we getting together this year?" And every time the answer was something like, "You can stop by if you're free," or, "We're trying to stick to a budget." But this time, Nolan was inviting me. Tessa even appeared on the screen behind him. She smiled, still stirring something on the stove, and gave a little wave. The kids ran past. Peyton asked, "Are you bringing cake, Grandma?" Mason didn't say anything, but he smiled, the kind of smile adults call polite. I nodded. I told him I'd be there. No hesitation. I didn't ask who would buy the ticket. I didn't ask if there was a spare room ready. I hung up the phone with a strange lightness in my heart, like someone had finally remembered me after a long, deep sleep. That evening, I retrieved a small wooden box from my desk drawer. My emergency box. It held crisp, old bills, just enough for a round-trip ticket if I was careful. I went online and found a cheap flight. It was for Thursday morning, landing in Minneapolis at 3:10 p.m. I paid an extra $12 for a window seat because I don't like being crowded and my knees have been acting up lately. The next day, I stopped by the yarn shop and bought a skein of pale purple yarn to knit a scarf for Peyton. A color she once said was soothing, like cotton candy. I also bought a box of dark chocolate for Tessa, the kind she had complimented once before telling me not to go to the trouble. I packed the scarf, the chocolate, a few old children's books that still smelled of paper, and a tin of oatmeal cookies into my suitcase. I had baked the cookies the night before, with raisins and cinnamon, the kind Mason had eaten 3 of last year without saying a word. I also packed 3 outfits, including a new navy blue cardigan I'd found at an outlet store. It fit just right, not too loose, not too tight. It made me feel seen. Not younger, just presentable. As I folded the last shirt, I paused. A familiar feeling washed over me, both warm and cold. I remembered Nolan's birthday a few years ago, when Tessa had texted me, "If it's convenient for you, feel free to come by. But don't buy anything, it's not necessary." I still went. I still brought a cake. I still sat in the chair by the coat rack. But this time was different, I told myself. On Wednesday night, I left a small note taped to my front door. Away for a few days. If any important mail arrives, please don't call. I'm gone for a rare occasion. Someone actually wants me there. I texted Nolan, flying in tomorrow morning. Land at 3:10 p.m. Can't wait to see everyone. He replied with a single heart emoji. No words. I didn't suspect a thing. I thought, sometimes, a small sign is all you need to believe that someone remembers you. This time, I believed. I deplaned at exactly 3:10 p.m., just as the ticket said. The air in Minneapolis wasn't bitterly cold, but a dry wind cut through my coat as if it were searching for a vein. I pulled my suitcase slowly past the gates, scanning the crowd for a familiar wave. Waves of passengers flowed past me, some with backpacks, others pushing strollers, some holding bouquets of flowers, others holding signs with names written on them. And then there was me, with just a tilted rolling suitcase and a carefully hand-knit purple scarf tucked in my bag. I waited at our usual meeting spot, Gate B, right under the sign with a white airplane on a blue background. Nolan had picked me up there twice before. The first time when Peyton was just learning to walk, and again 3 years ago when I came for his birthday. It was the same spot where I had once waited nearly 20 minutes because they were stuck in traffic. This time, I was early. I checked my messages again. Tessa, on our way. There were no other messages after that. No asking if I had landed, no mention of running late, no asking if I was okay. I looked at the clock. 3:22. The airport was getting busier. The reunion scenes were so lively, so fitting for the holiday. Hugs, laughter, tears, children shouting, "Grandma," before running into open arms. I leaned against a pillar, trying to look composed. I didn't want to sit down, afraid people would think I'd been forgotten. Maybe they were on their way, I thought. Maybe there was traffic. Maybe Mason needed a bathroom break, or Tessa forgot her phone at home. I created these reasons, one by one, like laying down cards to hide the obvious truth that was stirring in my gut. I opened my bag and took out my iPad to double-check the flight, to make sure I hadn't made a mistake. It was the same flight number, the same time, the same city. As it turned on, the device automatically prompted, "Sync iMessages with old iCloud account." I frowned. I had used Nolan's old account years ago to help him manage some bills. I must have forgotten to log out. I opened the Messages app, just to be sure. And then, I saw it. A group chat appeared, Turkey 24. I don't know why I clicked on it. Maybe the name felt familiar. Maybe it was the new unread message in gray, "Nolan, just make sure she's not in the family photo." My heart skipped a beat. I scrolled up to read more. "Tessa, don't let her near the knives. Remember last year? She cut her hand and got blood on the pie plate. Peyton, I don't want to sit next to her. She asks weird questions." There was a pause. And then another message from Nolan, like a final instruction. "Don't say she wasn't invited. Just say we got the date wrong." I couldn't breathe. Everything around me seemed to freeze for a few seconds. Only the airport lights continued to blink, and the announcement for the next flight echoed from the speakers. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't sad, but because I was too stunned to feel it properly. I closed the iPad, placed it back in my bag, and zipped it up carefully, as if it only contained old receipts. I stood up straight and readjusted my coat. No one called my name. No one ran up to me saying, "Grandma, I'm so sorry we're late." There was nothing. I pulled my suitcase slowly out of the terminal. Outside, a light snow had begun to fall. Tiny flakes clung to the peeling faux leather handle of my suitcase. I walked past the line of taxis without hailing one. I didn't open a rideshare app. I just kept walking. I passed a man holding a bouquet of roses, his eyes darting through the crowd. Then he called out, "Mom!" I stopped, my heart pounding. A fleeting moment where I thought someone might still be waiting for me. But then another woman, perhaps in her 60s, ran to embrace the young man. They both beamed. She accepted the flowers and whispered something in his ear. A genuine hug. A real smile. I wasn't jealous. I just felt out of place. I walked on, past the parking garage, past the rows of shuttle buses, past the green directional signs. No one called my name. No one asked where I was going. I didn't know where I was going either. I just knew I couldn't stand still in a place where I wasn't wanted. I don't know how far I walked from the airport. I only knew that my black low-heeled shoes weren't made for sidewalks covered in gravel and road salt. The fabric began to soak through, and the toe box rubbed against my big toe, a dull, throbbing ache. But I didn't stop. I had no destination, and no place to return to. About half a mile later, I saw a faded red sign, Tina's Diner. It was a low, ash-gray building with windows fogged over with condensation. A few paper cutouts of turkeys and maple leaves were taped crookedly to the glass, looking like they were made by preschoolers. Inside, there was a pale yellow light. And warmth. I pushed the door open. A small bell overhead chimed, a thin but kind sound. The diner was small, with only about 6 tables and 3 people sitting at the counter. An elderly couple was eating soup in silence. A man in a UPS jacket was getting a coffee refill. The smell of fried food and cinnamon mingled with the scent of vinyl seats. The waitress, a woman with her brown hair in a high ponytail, turned and smiled at me. "Happy Thanksgiving, hun." I nodded, stepping inside, my hand gripping the handle of my suitcase like a reflex. "Happy Thanksgiving to you too. Sit wherever you like. The kitchen's a bit backed up, but we've still got great pie." I chose a booth by the window, where I could see the parking lot. Not for the view, but because I needed to see the world still moving out there, even when I felt like I had just been ejected from it. I took off my coat and hung it on the hook beside the seat. My hands were trembling slightly, cold and dry. I sat down, pulling my bag close like a well-behaved dog that had lost its way. "We've got pie," the waitress said, handing me a menu. "Pumpkin, pecan, or key lime. And tea if you like." "Pumpkin, please. And black tea if you have it." She nodded, a pen tucked behind her ear. "Sometimes that's all you need, right? A slice of pie and a hot drink can fix just about anything." I managed a small smile. Maybe she was right. When she walked away, I took a small notebook from my purse. It was a navy blue journal that had been with me for nearly 5 years, filled with grocery lists, lines from movies, and things no one ever asked me but that I still wanted to remember. I opened it to a blank page. But I didn't write anything yet. The tea arrived first, in a ceramic mug with a small chip on the rim, the water still steaming. Then came the pie, a slice that was not too big, not too small, with a dollop of whipped cream leaning to one side. The crust was slightly cracked, and the filling smelled of cinnamon and ginger. I ate. Not in a hurry. Not for anyone else. Not for praise or for criticism. I ate simply because I was hungry, and because that slice of pie was mine. I thought about all the years, all the holiday dinners I had cooked with the fragile hope of being thanked, or at least noticed. And then, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, I leaned over and wrote in my notebook, "I am not a backup plan. I am not a leftover. I am not a side dish at someone else's feast." I underlined the last line 3 times. The pen strokes were a little shaky, but firm. I didn't cry. Strangely, I felt lighter. After I finished, I left cash on the table and walked back outside. The wind was colder now. A fine snow was falling like dust, not yet sticking to the ground. I found a cheap motel on the corner called the Valley Inn. The neon sign had a flickering L. I walked into the empty lobby. A middle-aged man in a thick, zip-up sweater was watching a football game on an old wall-mounted TV. "Need a room?" he asked without taking his eyes off the screen. "Yes. For one night. Got 114, down at the end. It's basic." I gave him my ID and cash. He handed me a key attached to a red plastic tag, the number 114 faded and worn. The room was just as I expected. A buzzing fluorescent light, a scratchy blanket, and walls the color of stained cream. But the heater worked, and the bathroom was clean. I took off my shoes and sat on the edge of the bed. The ache from my feet had spread to my lower back. The TV in the room still had an antenna. I turned it on. The only channel was an infomercial. I turned it off. I took out my notebook. The blank page was still waiting. I added one more line, just below the other 3. "No one saving you a seat? Pull up your own damn chair." I didn't sleep well that night. I drifted in and out, listening to the wind tapping against the window, the distant sound of engines on the highway, and the gentle hum of the mini-fridge, which sounded like breathing. But in all that silence, I saw one thing clearly. I was done waiting. 2 Christmases ago, I remembered Tessa sending me a short text. "If it's not too much trouble, you can come. Don't buy anything. We're on a tight budget." I still went. I still brought a cake, embroidered handkerchiefs, and a bundle of pine cones I'd tied with twine. Peyton didn't look at me. Mason was on his phone. Nolan ate quickly and left the table. Tessa thanked me, then left the cake I brought on the kitchen counter, uncut. I went home the next day. No one asked if I'd made it back safely. Tonight, I had brought nothing with me, just myself, sitting in an undecorated room with no flowers, no candles, no spare chair. But I felt more present than I had at any holiday in recent memory. And that, I thought, was the beginning of something. The next morning, I woke up before 6. Not to an alarm, I never set one. I had my own internal clock, the kind of early rising habit people joke about old folks having. But today, I woke up not out of habit. I woke up because I was done lying still. I made a cup of coffee from the old machine in the motel room. It was bitter, acidic, and cooled down too quickly, but I drank all of it. Sometimes, something that's just bad enough can wake you up better than anything perfect ever could. I stared out the window for a moment, then opened my phone. No new messages. Not that I was expecting any, but a part of me still hoped Nolan or Tessa would text an explanation. Something to say I was mistaken. That the photo was old. That I had misunderstood the chat. But no. There was nothing. It was time to act. I wouldn't spend another day standing on the sidelines of my own life. I put on the slightly wrinkled navy cardigan, tied my hair back neatly, and tucked my notebook into my purse. Then I pulled my suitcase down to the motel lobby, checked out, and called a taxi to take me to the bank branch I'd used for 20 years. The branch was on a main street corner, next to a laundromat and a CVS. I'd been there hundreds of times, and I even knew the names of the security guard and the red-haired teller who retired last year. Everything looked the same, the soft ding of the automatic glass doors, the plexiglass-shielded counters, the straight rows of blue plastic chairs. I walked up to the front desk and introduced myself. The young woman smiled. "Hello, Mrs. Wexler. How can I help you today?" I said, "I'd like to review all of my accounts. And I want to stop all recurring automatic payments." She nodded. "Let me find an advisor to help you." She pressed a button on her phone. A minute later, a young woman appeared, younger than I'd expected. She had bright eyes, neatly tied blonde hair, and a crisp white blouse. She smiled when she saw me. "Mrs. Wexler?" she asked, and then her eyes lit up. "I'm Kayla. You were my 10th grade English teacher. At Westbridge High." I paused for a second. Then I remembered. A quiet girl with curly hair who used to read books under her desk. Her grades were average, but she always turned her homework in on time. I smiled. "Kayla Reese. That's me." We shook hands. Her grip was firm and warm. I got straight to the point. "Today, I want to stop all transactions related to Nolan and Tessa Langford. All of them. I also want to check if anyone besides me has access to my accounts." Kayla's expression shifted slightly, then she nodded. "I'll check right away." She sat down and typed furiously, her eyes glued to the screen. After a moment, her brow furrowed. She didn't say anything. I waited. "Mrs. Wexler," she said quietly, "there's a supplementary card on your savings account, issued to a Nolanary Wexler. It was opened last March." I had no memory of this. "Your retirement account has a recurring transfer set up for a car loan in his name. It started in June. There's also a secondary login that frequently accesses the account from an IP address in Bloomington, Minnesota." I tightened my grip on my purse. "Please print out all the related documents, including any authorization forms, requests, anything with my signature on it. Kayla didn't ask why. She just nodded, printed the papers, and quietly placed them in front of me. I stared at the copies. In the signature box was my name, spelled correctly, in blue ink, but it wasn't my handwriting. I had never signed that paper. I looked up. I never signed any form authorizing him to open a supplementary card. Kayla nodded slightly, her eyes no longer cheerful. "I believe you," she said, then whispered. "I see this more often than you'd think." I took a deep breath. "Now, I need you to revoke all access. Remove every recurring payment connected to him or Tessa. I don't want another dime withdrawn without my explicit consent." Kayla nodded. "And the power of attorney?" I knew what she was talking about. Nolan was my legal power of attorney, in case of a health emergency. We had set it up after my husband passed away. "Revoke it. Today. Right now." Kayla typed in the command and printed 2 more forms. I read them carefully, signed in each designated spot, my hand steady. When I was done, she took the papers and clipped them into a file. "Do you also want to block the devices that have been logging in from Minnesota?" "All of them." We sat for another few minutes while she finalized everything. I didn't say much. Kayla didn't press for details. It all happened in a silence that was both suffocating and liberating. Finally, Kayla gathered the files, looked up at me, and said in a low voice, "You're not the only one this happens to. But not everyone has the courage to deal with it right away like you have." I didn't know what to say. I just nodded. Part of me wanted to cry. Another part felt empty. But the most important part felt clear. I had taken action. And I wasn't turning back. I stood up, thanked Kayla, and walked out of the bank. The wind outside was colder than it had been that morning, but this time, I didn't pull my collar up. I always thought I'd be the kind of person who keeps everything the same until the very end. Not because I was afraid of change, but because I had believed for so long that keeping things the same meant being loyal. Loyal to memories, to family, to the things I once believed were right. But this morning, as I stepped onto the stoop of the old law office with the brass plate reading Harold Finch Associates, my shoes still stained with salt from yesterday's sidewalks, I knew I was no longer loyal to the old ways. I was loyal to myself. The 2-story house where Mr. Harold Finch ran his practice hadn't changed in nearly 20 years. The same creaky dark brown door, the same stone steps that were a little slippery when damp, the same smell of old paper mixed with faint tobacco. The receptionist was no longer red-haired Maureen, but a young man younger than my grandson. But the walls were the same, and the grandfather clock in the hall still ticked with the same steady rhythm. "I have a 9 o'clock appointment with Mr. Harold Finch," I said. The young man nodded politely. "He's waiting for you, Mrs. Wexler." I walked into the familiar office, the same room where I had sat with my husband to draft our first will after we bought our small house in Worcester. Nolan was a sophomore in college then, and June hadn't even been born. Harold Finch stood up when he saw me, as courteous as ever. His hair was completely white now, and his striped tie was still slightly askew, as it always was. "Delilah," he said, his voice deeper and huskier than I remembered. "It's good to see you again. We always seem to meet at the strangest times, don't we?" I sat down, removed my gloves, and smoothed the hem of my sweater. He sat opposite me, tidying his notepad. "A big change, is it?" I looked at him for a moment, then said, slowly but firmly, "I'm not changing it because I'm angry. I'm changing it because I'm awake." Harold Finch nodded, asking no further questions. We began to review the old file. The previous will was clear. 60% of my assets were to be divided equally between Nolan and his children, 20% to Tessa if I passed before the age of 80, and the remainder distributed to a charitable fund in my husband's name. All of those terms had made sense once. But now, they made me feel like I had been bent into the most vulnerable version of myself. "Remove Nolan and Tessa from the entire inheritance," I said. "No prior notice. No reason given." "Understood," Harold Finch noted. I want to establish an irrevocable trust for June Avery. She's my granddaughter. Nolan's daughter, from his first wife. She has never forgotten my birthday. Not once. Harold Finch smiled faintly. I remember June. She sent a thank you note for that small scholarship you and I contributed to years ago. I nodded. I want the trust to be used only for education, housing, health, and emergencies. But every withdrawal must have my written approval. And if you pass before the fund is depleted? I want June to be the successor trustee, no one else. We spent nearly an hour going through the items. Bank accounts, retirement funds, the small stock portfolio my husband left, the house I live in, and even the plot of land I owned in Vermont that Nolan once said was a waste of property taxes. I quietly signed in every designated spot. I didn't need time to think. I had done enough thinking. Afterward, Harold Finch said, "Would you like to include a letter? A sort of letter of intent, to explain your decision. It's not required, but sometimes it helps the living understand." I was silent for a few seconds. Then I nodded. "I'll write one. But not for Nolan. I'll write it for June." I borrowed a sheet of paper from him and wrote by hand. My script wasn't as steady as it used to be, but it was clear, each stroke deliberate. I wrote slowly, without corrections or cross-outs. "June, you once told me I was the safest place in the world. At the time, I didn't know what to say, so I just hugged you and said, I feel the same way. Now it's my turn to make good on that promise. I'm leaving everything I have, my money, my house, even my unfinished dreams, to the only person who ever saw me as a human being, not a walking wallet. If anyone ever asks you why, you can show them this letter. Or don't. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Love you, Grandma." I folded the letter and handed it to Harold Finch. "Include this with the file," I said. "If she asks, tell her that her grandmother still remembers exactly what it feels like to be loved." He nodded, respectfully placing the letter in a separate envelope. When I left the office, the air was still cold. I walked a block to an old tea shop on the corner. It used to sell bags of Darjeeling tea brewed by the owner in an English porcelain pot. It had new owners now and was less formal, but it was still warm. I chose a table by the window and ordered a pot of black tea with a slice of lemon. When it arrived, I took the first sip. It was slightly bitter, and the warmth spread through my body. I looked out at the street, where traffic was light. A woman walked by with her dog, a red knit scarf around her neck, her hands in her pockets. No one noticed me. No one looked at my table. No one asked who I was, where I came from, or where I was going. And for the first time in years, I was at peace with that. I didn't need a witness to know my own worth. I didn't need a name in a family photo or a hollow thank you on a holiday. I had started living as myself. And I had never seen myself so clearly. The text message arrived while I was folding a load of warm laundry at the laundromat. I opened my phone to a picture, my own handwriting, in blue ink, on a pale yellow sheet of paper. The letter I had written for June in Harold Finch's office was now in her hands. The message that followed was just a few words. "Grandma, I read the part about not a side dish and I cried. I have the weekend off. Can I come see you?" I sat down, my hands still holding a warm wool sock. A quiet space in my chest exhaled, as if someone had gently opened the door to a dark room I had grown accustomed to. I didn't have to think about it. I texted back, "I'll be waiting." On Saturday morning, I arrived at the train station a little early. I always like to be early. Partly because I don't want anyone to have to wait for me, and partly because I like to watch people. The way they greet each other with hugs, with tears, with silence, with hesitation. At a station, all those embraces are equally valuable, whether for someone returning or for someone who was forgotten. I brought a small brown paper bag with me. Inside was a cold chicken sandwich, a red apple, and a bottle of water. Not because I thought June was incapable of taking care of herself, but because I was once the only person who remembered to ask her, "Have you eaten today?" The train arrived at 11:37, just as the board said. I watched the passengers step off, some with suitcases, some with headphones, some texting as they walked, their eyes glued to their screens. Then I saw June. She was wearing a baggy grey hoodie, her hair tied up under a wine-colored knit hat, a canvas tote bag slung over her shoulder. When she saw me, she stopped for half a second, then broke into a smile that was pure sunshine. "Grandma," she called out, her voice soft but clear. She walked quickly toward me and then hugged me, a real hug. Not rushed, not polite, not for show. "Hello, dear," I said, pressing my cheek against her hair. "I've missed you." I didn't ask why she came. I didn't need to. She didn't offer any further explanation. We just pulled her suitcase and went home. Back at the house, June made herself at home as if she'd never left. She took off her shoes, hung her coat on the hook, and sat right down in her favorite corner of the sofa. I put a kettle on the stove and pulled a container of pasta sauce from the freezer. I always make extra for days when I don't feel like cooking. "Can you chop the onions?" I asked. "Of course." June pulled up a chair and washed the knife. We cooked in a comfortable silence, filled only by the sound of boiling water, the knife against the wooden cutting board, and the scent of olive oil and garlic heating in the pan. "How's school?" I asked, handing her a box of spinach. "Stressful," she said. "But I can handle it." I was on the night shift in the ER last week, and I was the first one to spot an old woman going into diabetic shock. "You're so smart," I said, and I realized I hadn't said that to anyone in a very long time. June looked at me for a moment, then said quietly, "I still listen to that voice memo you saved for me whenever I have a big exam. The one you sent last year where you said, 'Just do your best, I trust you to handle the rest.' I listened to it over and over. It calms my nerves." I turned back to stir the sauce, trying to hide the stinging in my eyes. I thought my words were just whispers in the wind. It turns out they were fanning the flames for my little granddaughter. After dinner, we made tea and set up the old wooden chessboard on the table. It had belonged to my husband. June had loved playing since she was a little girl. I let June go first. She thought about her moves, slow and steady. I wasn't in a hurry either. She won the first game. I smiled. "You don't go easy on me anymore." "I never did," she replied with a mischievous wink. I won the second game. Not by luck. I had just learned to anticipate her moves. We both laughed, as if sharing a secret only the two of us understood. I poured more tea and leaned back in my chair. "Do you remember last year," I said, "when I brought that cake and Peyton wouldn't even try a slice?" Nolan said, "Tessa already bought a pie, don't open another one." June nodded, her expression growing serious. "Last week," she said, "I heard Dad telling Peyton, 'Your grandma's getting old and paranoid.'" I didn't say anything. Just silence. Peyton didn't know I was standing behind the kitchen door. I heard everything. I wasn't surprised. Some things are left unsaid not because people think you're too fragile to hear them, but because they assume you're no longer strong enough to understand, or to fight back. But people don't get old because of their age. They get old when they're stripped of their value and treated like a nuisance. I looked at June. "Love without respect is just a performance." She looked up at me. "And you," I said, "are the only one who never treated me like I was disposable." June didn't reply. She just reached out and took my hand. Her hand was young, but it felt as warm as an old memory. I stood up and went into my bedroom. From a small drawer, I pulled out a pale blue velvet box. Inside was a pair of silver teardrop earrings, simple but elegant. I had planned to give them to Peyton for her 16th birthday. But I never got the chance. Or maybe, I never had the courage to offer them. I placed the box in June's palm. "These are for you. Not because you asked, but because you deserve them." June opened the box, her eyes welling up. "I'll wear them on my graduation day." I nodded. Nothing more needed to be said. That night, As I sat reading under the yellow lamplight, listening to the sound of the shower running and the faint scent of soap wafting from under the door, I felt my heart was no longer as heavy as it had been. You don't need a perfect family. You just need one person who understands you. Just one grandchild who hugs you not out of duty, but out of love. I knew something was coming when I heard the knock on the door. 3 raps. Not too fast, not too slow. The kind of knock that carries hesitation and has been practiced in a mirror. I was folding kitchen towels at the dining table, still basking in the gentle afterglow of a weekend with June. She had left yesterday. The house was quieter, but it was no longer an empty quiet. It was the quiet of someone who no longer needs to explain herself to anyone. I stood up and went to the door. Peeking through the frosted glass, I already knew who it was. Tessa. A beige cashmere coat, a polished leather bag slung over her shoulder, her hair in perfect waves, her lips painted a pale red, a color meant to look tasteful but not inviting. I opened the door. A chill breeze filled the silence between us. "Hello, Delilah," she said, her voice a mixture of practiced hesitation and controlled breathing. "May I come in?" I gave a slight nod. "Come in. But I'm not making tea." She smiled, the kind of smile one prepares for a negotiation. As she stepped inside, her eyes did a quick sweep of the room. I saw it. As if checking for dust, for misplaced objects, or to see if anyone else was there to listen. I sat down at the dining table. She sat a few seconds after me, probably waiting for an invitation. I didn't offer one. "Nolan, he honestly thought you were flying in on Friday," she began, her voice as soft as flour. "When we saw the picture posted online, we both felt terrible. And the kids. Peyton thought it was strange you didn't call back." I nodded, not interrupting. I gently placed a stack of papers on the table. 4 sheets, clearly printed with the chat from the Turkey 24 group. I had printed it from the old iPad and highlighted 3 lines in red. "Just make sure she's not in the family photo." She cut her hand and got blood on the pie plate. "Just say we got the date wrong." Tessa's eyes froze. I saw her read the words, though she tried to maintain an air of indifference. "We were just stressed about the planning," she said, her voice cracking slightly. "We didn't mean to exclude anyone." I tilted my head. "You have children. Do you know what it feels like to be left out?" She didn't answer. I continued, my voice soft, but each word as sharp as a razor blade. "You don't say things like that about people you love. Unless you never really loved them." Her face hardened. I could see her struggling to keep her breathing even. "Does Nolan know you've changed the access?" she asked, trying to keep her tone level. "I mean, the accounts, Peyton's tuition fund, the insurance, the house?" I looked her straight in the eye. "I don't need Nolan to know. I just need him to feel it when he can't withdraw anything anymore." Silence hung in the room for several seconds. It was so quiet I could hear the gentle hum of the heater beneath the floor. The faint scent of yesterday's Earl Grey tea still lingered near the kitchen counter. Tessa stared at me a moment longer. I couldn't tell if she was hoping I would soften or searching for a crack in my armor to attack. She said, her voice dropping to a lower, more intimate tone, perhaps a final attempt. "I'm sorry if you felt excluded from the family's life." I let out a small, humorless smile. It wasn't a laugh, but a reflex of release. I stood up, not waiting for her to signal that the conversation was over. "I don't need anyone's permission to feel anything," I said. "You're not sorry I was excluded. You're sorry I had the nerve to get up and leave the table." She was silent. Her smile froze on her face. She stood, adjusted her coat, and reached for her handbag. "We will try to do the right thing. Nolan still thinks of you as—" "Stop," I interrupted. "I don't need to hear another word from someone who chose to stand by and watch while I was being pushed aside." She bit her lip. Nodded. She walked to the door without rushing, but she didn't look back. The door closed softly behind her. So softly it didn't even make a distinct click. as if she didn't want to leave a trace. I stood there for a few more seconds, my hand on the doorknob. My heartbeat was calm, as if nothing had happened. But I knew something had truly ended. I went back to the dining table. I placed the chat log back in its folder. I closed it. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I needed to apologize for getting up from my chair. The call came late Tuesday afternoon, while I was folding a winter blanket to store in the attic. The sun was low, casting a pale orange light on the hairline cracks in the old ceiling. The phone rang 3 times, stopped, and then rang again. I looked at the screen. Nolan. I wasn't surprised. After Tessa had walked out my door with a straight back but panicked eyes, I knew he would call. I sat down at the kitchen table, let the phone ring out, and allowed it to go to voicemail. But he called back immediately. I answered. Not because I had softened, but because I no longer saw a reason to hide. I had heard enough silence. I could listen to a few more words, if that's what it took to finally close the door. His voice came through the speaker, softer and huskier than I remembered. "Mom," Nolan said, "I know something's wrong. But I honestly don't understand why you would make such an extreme decision." I didn't reply right away. I let a few seconds pass, then said, my voice as neutral as if I were answering a question at the grocery store. "You don't have to understand. You just have to live with the consequences of your neglect." Silence on the other end. I could hear his breathing, then a sound like a pen tapping lightly on a desk. "Tessa said you reacted because of the photo, because of the group chat," he began. I didn't interrupt. I let him talk. "We do everything for this family," Nolan continued. "Tessa spent a whole week planning dinner. Everyone was there. You just..." I cut him off. Not loudly. Just precisely. "I used to be your family. But you were never mine." My voice didn't tremble. It held no bitterness. It was just something that had been compressed for so long, like a shadow, that had finally sprung into form. I went on. "Do you remember my 65th birthday? No one called. No one sent anything. Not even an e-card. And yet, I still made the transfer for Peyton's school fees, on time, on the exact day. No one reminded me. No one thanked me." Nolan said nothing. I heard a chair creak. He was probably in his office, or in his car. I pictured his confused expression, as if he had no idea where this storm had come from. After a moment he said quietly, "I thought you didn't care about that stuff." I closed my eyes. There was a flicker of pain. But it was no longer sharp. It was the ache of a healed scar, the kind that only twinges when the weather changes. "What I needed wasn't gifts," I replied. "It was a chair with my name on it. Not the one next to the coat rack." I didn't wait for him to respond. I let the sentence hang in the air. Then I said my final words. "I don't want to argue, Nolan. I just want you to know that I was patient. So patient that I forgot who I was. Now, I'm simply choosing not to be that person anymore." Nolan sighed. I heard it clearly. He wasn't angry. Just confused. But confusion isn't enough to change anything. It never is. "Mom." He started to say something else, but I didn't need to hear it. I gently hung up the phone. I placed it on the table. Outside, the gray clouds were thickening. It was about to rain. I stood up, poured myself a cup of tea, and sat down at my writing desk. I took the paper watermarked "Addendum to Trust" from my lawyer, Harold Finch, and began to write a letter by hand. The last letter I wanted to leave for June, the only grandchild who had never made me feel invisible. My handwriting was slightly slanted. The tips of my fingers ached with arthritis, but I didn't want to use a typewriter. I needed to write this by hand. I needed each stroke of ink to soak into the paper like a scar into skin. "Dearest June, someday, someone might tell you that your grandmother was an angry woman. A bitter woman. A woman who turned her back on her own son. If that happens, you don't have to defend me. But if someone asks, and you want to tell them, then tell them the truth. Your grandmother was gentle until she was worn thin. She used to give everyone else a seat at the party, just to be allowed to sit in the corner and listen to them laugh. She gave without asking, believing she had to be low maintenance to be kept. But in the end, you were the only one who saw me as a real person. Not an obligation. Not a tool. Not a backdrop to make the family look complete. And for that, everything I have, whether it's a little or a lot, I leave to you. Love you forever, Grandma. I folded the letter and tucked it into the prepared envelope. I labeled it, private, open when needed. I sighed. Not out of sadness, but out of relief. I had just finished a conversation that should have ended a long, long time ago. Not for revenge. Just for release. I can't remember the last time I went up to the attic. Maybe it was last spring, when I needed to find the box of Christmas decorations. Maybe it was longer ago than that. But this morning I opened the small attic door in the hallway, pulled down the wooden ladder, and climbed up, not to find anything specific, but to find something that belonged to me, that was once mine, before I lost myself in someone else's dream. The attic smelled of dust and old wood. Morning sun streamed through a small crack, illuminating the floating dust motes. I pulled over a wooden chair, sat down among the cardboard boxes and plastic bins, and breathed slowly. I was looking for an old recipe book, the one with the apple crisp recipe June had asked for. But my hand brushed against a navy blue cardboard box, thick and sealed with yellowed tape. It was labeled in ink, 1990 to 2005. I opened it. Photographs fluttered into my lap like dry leaves on a porch. A picture of Nolan at 8 years old, his face scrunched up from the sun, hugging a pumpkin bigger than he was. I remembered that year. He had insisted on dragging the pumpkin all the way to the car himself because, I want Mom and Dad to see how strong I am. Beneath the photos were a few letters. One from my husband, handwritten, the ink faded at the edges. You always think people will be grateful. But you forget one thing. People tend to take advantage of those who ask for nothing. I read it 3 times. With each reading, another thick layer of endurance peeled away from my chest. I pulled out another box, labeled Bank Transactions, 2008 to 2021. Inside were copies of wire transfers, loan confirmations, bank appointment slips, and a few sticky notes in my own handwriting. Transferred money for Nolan's car repair in May. Advanced tuition for Peyton's summer camp. Tessa lost her job. Sent a little something. I don't know why I kept those papers. Maybe to remember. Maybe because a small part of me once hoped that, someday, someone would see them and understand that I had never turned my back, even when everyone else had turned their backs on me. I brought a few of the papers downstairs. I spread them out on the table under the warm yellow light of my desk lamp. I took out a pen and wrote down each item clearly. Not to prove a point, but to see it for myself. A list of what I gave, 3 car payments for Nolan, 2 hospital bills for Tessa, 1 contribution for her mother's funeral, 4 birthdays with no wishes, 6 Thanksgivings with no formal invitation, 1 knitted scarf left on the sofa, 1 unopened tin of cookies, dozens of "Are you okay, Mom?" texts that went unanswered. I stopped. Then I turned to a new page. A list of what I still have. My voice. My memory. My grey hair, which I no longer dye. The scarf June took home with her. The candle that still burns every night I eat alone. June. I closed the notebook. I felt light. It was an inventory check that no longer served to inflict pain, but to show me that I was still standing here, in the middle of the ashes I was sweeping up myself. That night, I made lentil soup. I've always loved it in the cold weather. Cooking for one isn't a sad thing, if you know who you're cooking for. I set the table for 2. 1 chair opposite me left empty. Not because I was waiting for anyone. I placed that chair there as a reminder. This seat is no longer reserved for those who once sat in it only to make me feel small in my own home. I lit a candle. The light was soft, not glaring, but bright enough to illuminate every fold in the old tablecloth. As the first spoonful of soup touched my lips, I realized something very strange. I didn't feel lonely. I just felt whole, in a way I had never allowed myself to be. I no longer wanted to be part of someone else's dream. Especially when that dream had no room for me, or only kept me around as a prop for their own sense of decency. I didn't need to be the one they remembered, if they only remembered when they needed to withdraw money, or when they needed to maintain the image of a traditional family in a Facebook album. I just needed to be myself, with a warm kitchen, a clear list, and an empty chair that I had the right to name. The first week of December, the cold turned real. It was no longer the kind of brisk air you could handle with a light jacket, but the kind of cold that made your knees ache and forced you to stuff newspaper into the cracks of the doorframe to block the draft. I spent Saturday morning decorating my porch. Nothing fancy, a wreath of dried pine from the farmer's market, a few strands of yellow lights wrapped along the wooden railing, and a small string of brass bells hung on the doorknob. I climbed onto a chair myself to hang them, slowly and carefully. Not so a passerby would compliment them. Not so the neighborhood kids would take a picture. But because I wanted that light to be my own when I opened my door. For the first time in years, I did something not because others would see it. I did it because I needed to see that this house was still alive. And so was I. That afternoon, I received a package from Vermont. I knew right away it was from June. She always wrote the return address in a slightly slanted script, the last letter of her name always a little longer than necessary. I opened the box. Inside was a Polaroid photo. It was June, standing in the middle of her dorm room, her hair in a high bun, wearing the silver earrings I had given her. Her smile wasn't perfect, a little crooked, completely genuine, the lighting slightly dim, but I saw myself in it. Beneath the photo was a crudely drawn picture, clearly from when June was a little girl. The words were written in a smudged green crayon, "Grandma equals home." I sat in silence. I didn't cry. But I placed the photo on my nightstand, next to the lamp, and I pressed the drawing into my notebook, where I kept the things that truly mattered. My phone buzzed twice around dusk. A text from Nolan. "That was a cruel thing to do, Mom. We never thought you would choose to do this. Tessa cried all night. Peyton doesn't understand what's happening." I stared at the screen. No anger. No sadness. Just exhaustion. Not tired because of the words they wrote, but because I had once tried to do everything to avoid this exact moment. The moment I was cast as the troublemaker, simply because I had stopped putting up with it. I turned off my phone. I didn't block them, didn't delete the messages. I just turned it off. I poured myself a cup of black tea with a little honey. At my feet was an old but warm wool rug. Outside the window, the first snow of the season began to fall. The first snowflakes always have a way of making everything a little quieter. I sat by the window, tea in hand, and thought about nothing. Not about Nolan. Not about Tessa. Not about, they should have understood. Because they wouldn't. And now, I no longer needed them to. I opened my notebook, turned to the last page, and wrote, "This winter, I don't need a card. I don't need a cake. I don't need anyone's good wishes. I just need to be here, and to be enough for myself." I added one more small line underneath, in red ink, "No invitation necessary. No permission required. This winter is mine." I closed the notebook, set it on the table, and stood up to turn off the lights in the living room. I left only the string of yellow lights on the porch, glowing softly. I sat there in the warm, quiet darkness, letting the light from outside reflect on the window pane, painting faint, glowing circles on my walls. No one knocked on the door. No one else texted. No one needed me to bear witness to their existence. And for the first time, I didn't see that as a loss. I saw it as freedom. I'm not telling this story for pity. And I'm certainly not telling it so someone will tell me I was right. I'm telling it because I know there are others like me, silently enduring, day after day, in their own homes. Women who have lived more than half their lives, who have swallowed countless its fines, who have tried to become the ideal mother-in-law, the undemanding mother, the easygoing grandma, only to be forgotten when they have nothing left to give. If you're listening to this, maybe you've also been seated at the table next to the coat rack. Maybe you've also prepared for a month only to receive a casual, "come if it's convenient." Maybe you've also asked yourself, "Am I a burden?" I used to think that if I was just gentle enough, just patient enough, then one day people would see my importance. But then I realized, people only hold on to what they find useful. And kindness without boundaries is not seen as a virtue, it's seen as a given. And what's a given is usually taken for granted. I'm not telling you to cut ties with anyone. I'm not telling you to do what I did. But I hope you dare to look back. Look back at how many times you gave without receiving. Look back at how long you stayed silent without anyone bothering to ask why. Look back and ask if you are still yourself, or if you are just playing a role in someone else's story. It took me years to learn something that should have been simple. Love without respect isn't love. Family without care is just a word. And you, whether your hair is gray, whether you live alone, whether no one texts to check on you every day, you still deserve to live a life of value. Not for someone else's approval, but so you can look back and say, I lived true to myself. If you are listening to these words and you feel something in your heart stir, that's not weakness. That's your heart telling you, enough. And if anyone has ever made you feel that your presence was optional, something they could take or leave, please remember this. You are not a side dish at anyone else's feast. Speech balloon. If you have ever felt overlooked or pushed to the margins in your own family, leave a comment. You don't have to share much. A simple "I know that feeling" is enough to let someone else out there know they are not alone. Share this story with the women you love. Because sometimes, a story that feels like our own is the one thing that gives us the courage to stand up, leave the chair that no longer serves us, and choose a light of our own.